So today, guys, I thought it'd be just a relaxed affair. I thought, we just share our experiences of 2020, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I thought maybe we'd just kick off with that and see how everyone's coped and see if any sort of pearl has come out of that, and maybe some advice that other people could take on board. Maybe, I don't know. So I don't know if anyone wants to kick off with answering that.
I mean, one example for me this morning, as a result, sort of hit it home this morning, was how much we rely on IT and everything working properly, because everything's remote. There's Zoom, there's the whole system set up, and obviously for security reasons as well, with everyone working remotely and moving home. There's obviously a data protection issue, and if the IT system goes down or you can't access the computer, you're absolutely stumped. So it's happened to be this morning, and it just shows the importance of it. There's all these. This remote working works well when it's all up and running, but I imagine the IT support guys are getting a lot of work off the back of this.
I'll chip in as well there. There's for anybody who's looking at their IT needs or issues, there's Digital Catalyst through the Humber Growth Hub, where you can get an IT specialist to come in and check how you're actually using technology and how you're using digital to run your business. So you can look at your systems and your processes, your marketing functions, your cyber security, anything like that. It's about a £3,000 worth package that's fully funded.
Oh, brilliant. That is good. Because that's where everything's going now, isn't it? Obviously, we've talked before about everything going on to LinkedIn and social media and remote access and everything being digital. But it's all got to work, hasn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to know how to work it as well, and you've got to have the right systems in place for it to work.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I was speaking to two clients yesterday. One who says we now use Teams every day, which is like, wow, they haven't used it before, using it every day. Then another client who I'll normally go and see face to face, but he Zoomed me from his car. He was in London and he Zoomed me from his car, and we had a 30-minute meeting, which was brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't know. I don't think it's going to disappear, is it? I think we're going to use this more often now. But at the same time, I think I'm looking forward to actually meeting people face to face again. And I do find it really difficult. I think I've said this before, but I do find it really difficult when you've got a new client, or to gain that little bit of rapport in the first meeting that you probably could get better if it was face to face. And of course, when I go and see someone, I love to go and see their business, and experience their environment. And then you've got a few things in their environment that you can talk about, and that's how you build rapport. You can't really do that on the screen, can you? So I think actually we've had some what I thought were really good meetings and good opportunities, and they've gone totally flat and dead, which normally I don't think would have done if they were face to face. But
so you think that's purely down to the fact if you'd been able to give them a bit of the Rob Charm face to face?
I think that's the only thing I can put it down to, potentially.
Doesn't make a difference though, doesn't it? It does make a difference. It does make a difference.
Yeah, I think also it's interesting, isn't it, about if you weren't doing Teams. I think there's always sometimes a bit of hierarchy in things. Like for instance, if there's, we like to deal with lots of IT companies, and we tend to deal with small and medium and large ones. But the larger ones can be harder to convince to use us, because they look at us as a little bit. You're a small little brokerage. We could go and deal with any larger brokerage in the UK, and there's that hierarchy thing. Whereas now we're on Teams, you don't get that feeling because it's just one person speaking to another person. So maybe the hierarchy bit goes out the window a bit. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being slightly paranoid. I don't know. But
it's quite difficult for us, Rob, just to sort of mention on the back of that a lot of the elder clients that we deal with, they don't have the technology, so we can't really do client reviews or sort of initial client meetings, introduction meetings, because, like I said, not everyone has access to Teams and sort of online meetings. So that's been the biggest sort of hurdle for us, really. Just sort of trying to work with the older clients that don't have the technology.
Are you just doing everything over the phone then, are you, generally?
Yes, it's just just over the phone as best we can. People that do obviously have the technology will do online meetings, but yeah, just over the phone, sort of a bit old school really. Not much more we can do until we're up and running.
Yeah. And how are you finding new clients at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's a bit tricky, to be fair. Finding new clients has been the biggest sort of hurdle, I think, the last few months. But they still are sort of drip feeding through via referrals, part of the networking groups. So I think, like I say, you can still have meetings online with new clients, but yeah, it's probably taken a bit of a hit since last year. Sort of like the new business that we're doing, the new clients that we're picking up, it's just not as buoyant as last year.
Yeah.
And I think the business development side, that's definitely been the hardest part, I think. Unless you've got a really good online presence and your SEO's top, or you've got a budget for AdWords, that's the only real source of new business. You're relying on, like Neal said, your existing relationships for that referral basis, or your incoming inquiries from online. You're kind of getting new relationships from networking and general out and about. That's definitely taken a hit. So we've just reached out to a new BD manager to come and support me on the development. And one of the questions was in the interview, how are you going to bring in new business in the current climate? And we're looking for, obviously, innovation, we're looking for blend, but it is going to be using your LinkedIn contacts. But other than that, what options have they got? They can go down the cold call route, but in our game it doesn't really work. It is being out and about, and obviously the referrals from existing clients and relationships, which is key. And we've done a lot of work on our digital presence, SEO, which has seen a massive rise, and that's what's kept us the inquiries coming in, really.
When you say digital presence, is that through Google, or are you doing more on LinkedIn and things like
that? I do a little bit more on LinkedIn, but I'd put my hand up, I'm not brilliant on it. But we've always been really, really poor at marketing. And we've had a website because we needed one, but we've never had one that generates anything for it. Been changed because we've invested time and money into it, and we've got a full SEO package which is seeing results on some of our key products climbing from, I think one of our biggest products was on page 90, and now we're creeping onto page 1, which is huge. I mean, you rarely don't go onto page 2, do you? So to be that far back, and that has just taken a bit of time. It's not been a stupidly expensive process, but this downtime's allowed us to actually look at our offering, look at what the keywords are, and put a strategy in place to get some use out of that website, instead of it just being there because everyone has one.
I think it's knowing that you can do that and having the tools to do it and the expertise to do it, because it's an area that I know nothing about, and it's something that you need some expert help with, and I think it makes a massive difference. People don't realise with bringing sort of bringing contact to your website, the digital marketing, the LinkedIn, everything, and putting that package in place. It's knowing how to do it, isn't it, and getting the right people in that can do that for you. But it's and then obviously there will always be a cost to that, but it's really, really important, I think, now more than ever. And I'm trying to build a presence on LinkedIn personally, but it's not easy if it's not something that you're used to doing. And you see a lot of people who are really good in terms of the digital online marketing, but I think there's they've had some specialist help, which is I think what you need, really, isn't it, if you're going to do really well with it.
Definitely.
Which comes down to consultancy, doesn't it? Phil, is there some grants still available for marketing consultancy and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there is, again, through the Humber app, through the Growth Hub. There's 40% grant up to a maximum of £5,000. So a 12.5 grand project, you can get 5 grand towards marketing consultancy.
Okay.
That can cover a variety of actions. So
think that could be-
fairly easy to access, and it's around for at least another 2 years, I think.
All right, great.
And that's a huge opportunity, which when we're talking about organisations that are not making use out of it, it's just them knowing about it. I mean, I only knew about it by us speaking last month, Phil, and it's something that we're going to put an application in for in the new year, using Phil's help. So it's that education.
Yeah, definitely.
The issue that the LEPs always have is they either have no marketing budget or a very small one, because it's public money. They're not allowed to splash a load on marketing. So most businesses don't get to hear about it. It's only through consultant advisors like myself where businesses get to know.
Darren, just out of interest, R&D tax credits. Can you use R&D tax credits for if you're doing research and development of your marketing, if you're trying new elements to your business? Is that possible? Or
You can if you're using new technological advances or configuring ways which are unusual or bespoke to your business. It can be a grey area, but you've got to look at the underlying nature of the projects and the resources you're using. If it's just simply you're going to buy a new CRM software package, stick it onto your server or up in the cloud and then start plugging stuff into it, that's not innovation. If you've got to find a way of integrating a package to your internal systems or writing patches or writing integration routines, then basically that's bespoke. Nobody's done that before. So that's new, and it's advancing the way that you work with your business process and improve efficiencies. So that could qualify. So it is very much about, when you're looking at R&D claims, it's understanding what the business is doing, the resources they're using, and then apply that to the law within R&D tax regulations and law. It's very specific what you must, the milestones you must hit to answer the questions yes with the revenue are very specific but quite broad.
Right.
So it's really tailoring the project and the outcome to the legislation, and I'm basically saying, well, that bit there meets that requirement, take that one and work through it. And then when you submit your claim to the revenue, you make sure that you illustrate exactly how you've met those claims. But yes, for a marketing project, it involves technology, it involves use of the grey matter, hopefully some innovative thought. It's in there.
Okay, that's interesting, because we've just been trialing a bit of software called HubSpot. I'm sure some of you might have already heard about that. It's interesting, mega expensive, but really interesting in the sense that you can actually integrate your website, you can design landing pages, you can integrate LinkedIn with it, it's a whole email marketing tool as well, and you can integrate your sales functions in it at all. So it's a total package, and it can be vast or as little as you want. I mean, we've got the basic package about 40 quid a month, but you can go up to the mega package, which is like £2,000 or £3,000 a month. And I guess if there's integration there, would that work from an R&D perspective?
Certainly, yeah. If you're integrating either your own systems or you're doing something new, all you're doing is using tools to come up with a solution. The R&D claims shy away from something that already exists. If you've got to do something new and put your brain into it, then that's potentially R&D. It doesn't have to be in a test tube, or you don't have to wear a white coat all day to do it.
Okay.
So it is about pushing technology and business process forward and doing something new.
Is there any end to the R&D tax credits, or is this ongoing thing?
Good question. The R&D tax credit system was originally, it came out one of the EC directives, so it is linked to EC funding. There is no mention from the HMRC as yet that the R&D scheme will end. But I sat in a workshop with the HMRC about 9 months ago when they were on tour, asking specifically advisors how their clients were using their R&D, was it beneficial to them, how things could change. So I know for a fact it's in departmental review. What comes after this version of R&D? Well, we don't know. The government launched a new range of innovative and innovation allowances in the budget last year. That might be the core of the development going forward. But I'm only guessing.
And Phil, does it, obviously us coming out of Europe, is that going to affect the grants as well?
Not in the short term. It's any grant that's in the pot now, that's secure. And I say some of them run to March 22, and some to 23 as well. So they're all guaranteed. So anything the Humber HuFF has got now, and anything I sort of talk about, that's guaranteed. The government have said when that goes or when it runs out, they're going to replace it with the Prosperity Fund. Mm-hmm. That's all they've said. There's no details. But again, for UK PLC, they'd be crazy not to obviously invest in SMEs.
Definitely.
So we'll be there.
On the north.
Yeah.
In the north.
Rebalancing, whether they actually do it or not in that form, we don't know. But I've coming out of this COVID pandemic, there's no way you can just leave the country just to fend for itself. There's going to have to be regional funding, development, infrastructure projects, and that should stimulate the economy in the regions and also down in the southeast as well, I would expect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the funding, there's always has been funding around, and there always will be. Sometimes you get a gap where there isn't any for 6 or 9 months while the new scheme gets up and running, that sort of thing. So there might be a bit of a bump in the road with it, but it's always been there, and I think it always will be. It'll just the nature of it will change.
Adam, how does the Brexit affect apprenticeships? Because I know they had put some kind of deadline, the government did recently, on the apprenticeship scheme that's rolled out. Is it end of February, something like that? Is that been affected?
No, they've been extending certain incentives, but the apprenticeship scheme obviously is for England, and each Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland have got their own kind of register of approved training providers and rules and regulations that go with that. The apprenticeship side and the new skills fund pot, they won't be affected. It'd be anything that would be linked to European funding. So there was some different parts. We are not included. We don't work with any of them currently, but I know a lot of colleges have got that funding. So that will run out at a certain point. A bit like Phil was saying with the grants, it was honoured, end it, and then they'll have to come up with what else they're going to put in place. The adult education budget is still going, but there's a new procurement round coming out in January, and that might be where they input the new level 3 funded qualifications that they're looking to upskill the nation with, should we say.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, for us, it's quite a positive, it's quite an exciting time. It just depends on the specifications of the new tenders. We're hoping that it's going to be an open opportunity, which is fair for all and not focused just at your FE colleges and them academic settings, and fair enough for the independent training providers as well.
Yeah. So it's a great opportunity, isn't it, at the moment, because you've got a lot of kids who've come out of university, haven't got jobs at the moment, living at home, trying to find something, and if we can get them into work on an apprenticeship scheme in one guise or another, it's a great opportunity for businesses to use that, knowledge base and the workforce, basically. So it's a good opportunity, isn't it?
No, definitely. I think there's always a target for your 16 to 24-year-olds. It's always a high unemployment opportunity bracket, which there's incentive up to £3,000 to look at recruiting a 16 to 18-year-old onto an apprenticeship. There is some other eligibility criteria. And I think a lot more organisations are looking at that. You look at ageing workforces, you bring in new blood to the business that are going to be trained whilst doing that. There is the apprenticeship contract for the apprenticeship wage, which is slightly less than your national minimum. So it gives a little bit of flexibility and chance for especially smaller organisations to take that jump and employ somebody. They're getting the training as well, and then there's incentive payments which are paid at believe it's 3 months and 12 months within the programme, which is just support. It can be put towards helping pay the salary, helping pay additional training, any resources that are required for that individual. So it's definitely worth looking at if they're looking at expanding and going for the future.
And the levy pays for 95% of the course, doesn't it? I think the employer has to put 5% in.
So the apprenticeship levy is attached to your organisations that payroll over 3 million a year, and the ones under 3 million, they will get 95% from the government pot. The 5% contribution is from the employer, which is it's a great opportunity. When you look at some of the qualifications, what they actually are contributing for that individual to complete it, it's a great offer, and it's just a case of seeing when they start reviewing that and how it looks. There is discussions about another reform, but we'll have to wait and see where that goes.
Yeah, good stuff. Great. Change the subject slightly. Neal, I wanted to talk about pension investments a little bit, because I hear that the markets are doing very well, and almost a little bit like why they're doing so well if we've got these issues around the world. Have you sort of got any insight for that?
Yeah, well, obviously when the pandemic hit, there was an impact to the market, but our portfolios sort of held quite strong. And since the pandemic, it's the year's probably going to finish fairly strong on a positive. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom really, and obviously what you've seen in the news and the markets, it's not a direct reflection of the portfolios and the investments themselves. So yeah, now's a good time to invest or be contributing to any form of investment, whether it's a pension or stock and shares, ISA, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's not all bad out there.
No, it's weird, isn't it? Because you'd think it would be. You'd think it'd be a poor time for everyone, because everyone knows that if you go to the bank and put your money in a savings account, you're going to get 0.1% at best. Yet investments, which we expected to go down and hit rock bottom, have actually done fairly well. They did have a blip, but they've recovered really quickly.
I think that's the difference with a pandemic, whereas obviously 2008 was sort of the collapse of the banks and the financial institutions. So it took a bit longer, but with a pandemic, you usually see a spike after, and when vaccines start to roll out. So it's usually a fairly quick turnaround. But it's like I said, it's probably not going to be a good. It's probably going to be a good sort of finish to the year, considering what we've gone through. Yeah.
So short-term versus long-term view as well, though, isn't it? Because your funds are basically based on a long-term viewpoint and growth and sustainable growth, whereas what the short-term effects like a pandemic do is they just affect a blip in the market for the short-term profit takers, really.
Yeah, that's it.
Your live markets will go up and down, but your long-term markets will stay pretty steady. I think that's one of the things that I think we're coming through now, is people are starting to sort of be aware that there might actually be an end to this.
Yeah.
Or certainly some kind of normalisation, whereas I think 3 months ago it was like, well, you can't see that light in the tunnel. So people were going, oh, woe is me. But a lot of the businesses that we work with have gone, well, okay, there's a new opportunity. I haven't spoken to this guy for a long time, or this woman for a long time. Let's go and talk to them. They might want some work doing, and it's coming through. So I think from what I've seen for certainly 7 or 8 customers I work with very closely, they're all doing something different to what they did 9 months ago now. They're not going to come out of this the same shape they went into it. And most of that's good, which is a relief.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about, talked about it before, about pivoting and changing your direction and being able to do that. The bigger businesses struggle with that, but the smaller businesses can do that if they want to.
Yeah.
And being creative and spotting opportunities and jumping at them. I think it's been an interesting time, hasn't it? I think, yes, it's been stressful, but at the same time, it's been, I think, creative in a way, hasn't it? It's made people think outside the box and go, you know what, let's give that a go, and if it fails, it's not the end of the world, because it's not as if we're making shed loads of money at the minute. We can probably afford to lose a little bit in a way, and of course there's the government support with the loans that's sort of helping people give those opportunities a chance, aren't there? So interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I just feel absolutely shattered from this year. I feel like it's beaten me up constantly, and every day you come in as a new headache or as a new opportunity, and it's interesting, but it does feel like this Christmas period can't come soon enough for me.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to just take a step back, don't they, and have that week, 10 days off if they can recharge the batteries. So I think next year, I think first quarter will be, pretty much similar to what it's been the last couple of months. But I think as we get into the spring, the optimism will certainly be rising, and as the vaccine rolls out, and I think the second half of the year, the economy's going to bounce right back.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what has been tricky. I'll tell you what has been tricky is sort of the mortgage market. So I don't know how you're finding it, Rob, but from a residential point of view, when we're trying to source and help clients with mortgages, it's just an absolute minefield with the lenders now on how strict and tight the criteria is, the sort of turnaround times. It is really tough helping clients and sourcing mortgages at the moment. Surely down to the lenders. Obviously, they're being spooked with what's happening out there, and people on furlough, people giving up mortgage. Obviously, they've got every right to be strict, but I don't know how everyone else finds it, but it's been really tricky, the mortgage market.
Yeah, I'd say
I'm getting the effect of that. My daughter's still at home trying to save up a deposit.
Yeah. They pulled a lot of the products, and like we're only just getting back into sort of like the 10% product, 90% loan to value options out there. But first time buyers is really tough for them at the moment. So hopefully next year. Hopefully next year it's just sort of the relax things a little bit. But yeah, it's tough. What do you think, Rob? I mean, obviously it's probably different with the commercial side.
Yeah, it's certainly in the asset finance world, it's very challenging, because I think, what we, as you guys know, we support a lot of introducers to help them sell their goods through offering finance. And the whole point of the product is to quicken up the sales process and make it slick and get them paid quicker. If anything, it's slowing it down. And that's almost a little bit embarrassing, because you can't promote yourself in the way you'd like to. And you feel like you're over-promising and under-delivering, not because we're doing anything badly. It's the lenders are being very slow, and it's not necessarily their fault either. I mean, they've had to furlough staff. Some of the staff they've got in might be slightly inexperienced. The processes are slow because everyone's working from home. Everything's just elongated and protracted. And then, of course, the people introducing your business are still sort of comparing your services to pre-COVID times, and then they're going, "What's going on?" And getting frustrated, because obviously they want to get their deals and they want to get their money, but it's very, very difficult. So
we're finding that in terms of there's just a general slowdown in terms of how long things are taking, because you've obviously got several elements to any transaction. Even if it's a basic property transaction, you've got the lender, the buyer, the seller, the solicitor, the agent, and they've all been hit by the practical implications of COVID, as well as the things that they've got to do with from a financial perspective for the banks. So yeah, we're finding, especially with the property market, it's slow. It's the transaction itself is taking a lot longer. But then there's also, I mean, like you're saying, with the lenders are reluctant to help first-time buyers, and I think it's because there's no shortage of people wanting to buy and sell houses. That are able to do it and in a position to do it, and because of obviously the changing the stamp duty and the residential conveyancing guys at our place is just ridiculously busy at the minute. There's a lot of people wanting to buy and sell and move, and it's just creating a huge backlog in terms of time. And I'm finding that even with the commercial jobs that I deal with, it's just things take a long time anyway with solicitors involved, but it seems to be taking even longer, a lot longer. And it's just because of the knock-on effect of, the practical implications that it's had on every single business and every single aspect of the transaction. And the combination of that is a slowdown in the actual process itself.
I think it's interesting as well, what you just mentioned there is I spoke to a guy the other day about attitudes towards purchasing property and owning property more down south than up here, because I think people tend to own properties sooner in their lives up here than they do down south, because it's so much more expensive down there. And he was saying to me, a lot of people that he was trying to employ don't want to have a full-time job. They want to be freelance and work to their own time constraints, and there's no pressure for them to want to save up money and get a mortgage and that, because they just think it's entirely out of reach. They're like, you know what, I'm never going to own a house. So the attitude from the sort of people in the early 20s are like, you know what, this is never going to happen to me in my lifetime. So I think that the look from their point of view is changing, and we might have a generation of people that actually changes how this country looks and feels with regards to owning property. It may just go to have a generation of renters and people who are working in and around their lives, not having full-time jobs, but free out of university, they've got a degree in, I don't know, filmmaking or whatever, and they're just working around their lifestyles. And I don't know whether that's going to get bigger or it's just a little blip in our history, but it is an interesting outlook, I think, potentially from people down south.
Obviously, are concerned about that fundamental change in people moving away from wanting to be a homeowner, aren't they? And the impact that'll have, across all areas. Obviously, there was the Help to Buy scheme and everything like that, which I benefited from personally, but I still, like you say, with the lenders, even with the Help to Buy scheme and some of the assistance that's available, there's quite a lot of saving up needs to be done by a young couple or a young person who's wanting to afford a house, even with the help. So it's hard to get to the point where you've got that money for a deposit, isn't it? And I think that added to that is there's no shortage of other people wanting to buy and sell houses. So it just sort of excludes young people from the market completely. Yeah,
exactly. And if you've got parents who have got businesses who are struggling at this point in time, they're going to be struggling to be able to help their kids get up on the mortgage ladder. I mean, I guess Phil's experiencing this situation as we speak. So we're not going to be as flush as maybe some people might have been, and be able to help their kids to get on that mortgage ladder. So, and we're going to have our kids living with us until they're 40, 50 years old.
Glad man have gone.
Well, you're lucky then, aren't you? So I've got that to come yet. My oldest is 12, so a long way to go yet, I think. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think there's definitely a change afoot of attitude. We'll have to see how that plays out, I guess. But yeah. What else was I going to talk about? So is there anything you guys are sort of, I guess Phil's just touched on it a little bit, is like looking forward to in 2021, sort of, I guess there's a bit of optimism out there because of the vaccine. Is there something that you think could be happening next year that you're looking forward to?
Who's going?
I mean, for me, obviously, we've got an exciting year because we're being able to invest in somebody else in my team for growing the business in a BD capacity. It's the opportunities to speak to more businesses that are going to be looking at not just the next week, but the next quarter, the next year, and start doing a bit more planning. Because a lot of conversations will be, I'll come back to you next year, I've got too much happening at the minute because of what's going on. So I think that new outlook on, right, we've got over the where, should we say, now it's a case of getting our position ready for the next 3 months, 12 months, 5 years, and really start planning that we can. It's great for us because when we put someone in a program, it's for a minimum of 12 months. So we're wanting them organisations to be thinking of that. And I think a lot of people, once they've got through this year, next year will be a case of, right, we've got the foundations, let's kick on now. And that'll be across a lot of areas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a relief. There'll be a relief. I know personally, I think there'll be a relief that you've survived it to a certain extent and that you've got through it. And obviously, we've all had years of going to networking and client meetings and meeting face to face and doing the usual thing that you do for a business. But all of a sudden, we've had that pulled away from us. And I think there's off the back of the spring and the summer, there's definitely going to be a new buzz for people who've just got a bit more of a spring in their step in terms of going out there and meeting people and having client meetings and doing what we were all on a day-to-day basis. How long that will last is another thing, but there's going to be there'll be a kick off the back of coming out of the pandemic, I think. Definitely, and there'll be, when you go to a proper business development meeting or a networking meeting or a client meeting, it'll all seem fresh and new. And I think people are looking forward to getting back to that because we thought it might be taken away from us. But how long it will be until we can do that is another thing altogether. But they are saying around spring, summertime, aren't they? I think.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think Brexit's going to have an effect on our businesses at all?
I think obviously there's a big worry around how it's going to affect the supply. Obviously, it depends on if your business is linked to the European market, and a lot of the businesses I work with, deal with, won't necessarily be at that scale. But it inevitably, as it filters down to the sort of the real economy, as I say, in terms of the businesses. So there is a real worry that there's going to be a hit on the supply chain coming in and out of Europe, because there's instantly going to be, you're not going to be able to move in and out of Europe after the end of this year. So I think it's a big unknown, the impact that's going to have further down the supply chains. But hopefully businesses will be okay. But it all depends if you've got an international element to your business, I think.
What you can guarantee is that press it'll all be gloom and doom. You'll only be hearing bad stories. A little bit like we've touched on, during this year, there's a lot of businesses who've seen the opportunities and are doing well. And I think that'll be the same next year. Just hope that people's confidence aren't hit by what they're hearing and reading.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know. We would be affected further down the line. I think it would take a while for it to drip through down, but I'm sure we will see some kind of lull at some point. But of course, we just don't know, do we? Hopefully, Bojo will get us a good deal. Who knows? And even if we don't get a good deal, is there some benefits and positivity going to come out of the fact that we've got no deal? I would suggest there probably is somewhere along the line. I know the Scandinavian countries that aren't part of the EU, they seem to do all right, don't they, without these trade deals? I think they've got their own little trade deals of countries, and they seem to do well, don't they? So I'm sure there's some positivities going to come out of it. It's funny how the Brexit thing's been just shoved to the side, hasn't it? No one really seems to really care about it, and I just got this horrible feeling that it's just going to pop up and bite us on the backside at some point next year. I just hope it's not a big bite. So interesting times ahead.
It's a political issue. What you find with any crisis is that businesses always find a way of adapting because they have to. So it's never government which drives recovery or drives expansion. It's the business that drive it. So it will be very much, the people, the SMEs in the economy, 90% of all the businesses in the UK which drive and adapt very quickly. Government will still be thinking about it while people are making profits in the new world.
Yeah,
we don't have any problems trading with the States, and they've never been part of the EU.
Yeah,
a bigger trading bloc than the EU. So I don't see, once you get over the political points scoring and appendage waving, we'll be back into a normal plan where everybody knows what the rules are, and then basically just play with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think obviously there's going to be an immediate hit to businesses that rely on the European market and the rapid cross-border trade between Europe. There'll be some businesses who are linked to that directly, and they're going to take a hit straight away. But hopefully they've all sort of seen this coming, and the prospect of there not being a deal, and have made arrangements. So there'll be immediate hit to obviously the European market. But like you say, businesses will adapt, work internally with UK markets, and obviously look elsewhere as well. So it's a bit like with COVID. It's those businesses that adapted and changed and were ready to adapt and change have survived, and it'll be a similar thing.
Yeah, Darren, have you lost any customers? Any customers unfortunately gone to the wall in this period of time?
No, we've not lost one that's gone to the wall.
That's good to know.
All of them got through.
Yeah.
Not having it, but it's fallen out yet.
We've only heard of one, and
Well, there's been a lot of support, hasn't there? There's been a lot of funding support from the government. The next stage is 2021 when you get the real fallout from that. Don't see any businesses which are fundamentally fake.
I think there's been from the employment point of view, there has been an upturn. As essentially linked to the furlough scheme, there's been an increase in settlement agreements of people being made redundant as they were thinking that the furlough scheme was going to come to an end. And each time that's happened, there's been a general increase in settlement agreements and redundancies, but not at an absolutely huge scale that we expected. But there has been I think it's forced people to probably make redundancies they were thinking about anyway, and sort of strip things down in a way that they probably should have thought about, brutally should have thought about doing it anyway. So it's just sort of forced that, and there has been a general, there has been quite a few redundancies, but it's not on the mass scale that we've thought. But it's obviously because of the furlough scheme and the support of the government.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I guess some of the positivities coming out of that is the fact that some people have gone, you know what, I'm going to go and work for myself now. And we've seen a big uptick of people wanting to do that. And I guess, Phil, that's where you can come in and help, isn't it? Because obviously you can advise people on how to get their business plans in place, and I'm sure Darren can help in that as well, just get people to plan a bit better. Because unfortunately what we do see, and I understand it, because a lot of people who start businesses have the idea in their mind what they want to do, and then they do it, and then they're working from their mind all the time. Totally get that, but of course you need to get it down on paper. You need to plan, because when it's on paper you end up seeing some of the problems straight away and go, actually, what am I going down that road for? Maybe I should be going down this road. And it's all about
that's right. This is a big there'll be a surge of people looking at self-employment, certainly, and obviously they're going to do what they know. Always the issue is they don't know the business side of it, because they've always been employed, so they've always worked in their little bubble. So they don't understand all the business bits of business. They're really good at what they do or what they make or the service they provide, but they don't know all the other hats they have: the marketing hat, the HR hat, the raising finance. As you say, just writing things down in a one-page business plan. This is where I am. This is where I want to get to. What steps do I need to take? That can be a great starting point. The other obvious thing to say is get advice. There's all those guys here, there's plenty of people out there. Ask people, get the advice, and go back to funding. There's plenty of funding out there that can help businesses start.
Yeah, totally agree. There certainly is. I mean, the startup loan scheme still out there. There's 25 grand per director per personal guarantee available.
Yeah, lots of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would certainly give businesses a helping hand. I think the interest rate's around about 6%, so it's not extortionate in any way whatsoever. But people do need the hand held through that process. We do one or two, I must admit. They can be a bit laborious, because often, like you just explained, people don't have the information that they should have in place: business plan, projections, good advice before they even start thinking about getting loans in place. But yeah, there is the support out there, and it's not necessarily hidden away either. I mean, just a quick Google and you'll find startup loans easily.
That's right.
If people want to speak to someone locally, us lot happily sit down and give them some free advice all day long, So
yeah, that's one of the things we'll do is this group is help people, isn't it, and just give them advice. We've all been there and done it. We've all started our own businesses, so we know the pain of doing that. People can ask us, we can help them.
Yeah. Tell them not mistakes that we've made and say, don't do that.
Exactly.